Hi guys, and welcome to another video. This time we're going to be going over one of my pieces that I did for Beastly Beverages for their most recent D&D series. I've had a few questions about how I actually go about doing these pieces with the black and the gold, as well as my line work, and I thought this would be a really good opportunity to sort of talk through my process and how I go about this. So, as you've seen on the work up to this bit, what I usually do is start with a very loose sketch. I'm just trying to block out a lot of the sort of features. Because these are usually for tea labels, in the case of these ones for Beastly Beverages, I have to keep relatively simple as they're not going to be particularly big, but they have to be pretty effective. So I tend to try and go with a very simple background that has some elements of the character that I've been asked to portray, along with then trying to keep some nice sort of bold line work. Now, because of it being me, I almost always inevitably won't make too much detail. Also, you'll notice with the wings, I anything like this, guys, use reference. For this, I did actually use several images of bird wings for this. So if you're ever doing any piece where you're dealing with some sort of skeletal structures, I heavily recommend almost always using some form of reference material. Now, with these pieces, you can see that I'm doing several layers of line work upon line work. I'm usually doing this because I like trying to get as much detail on a costume as possible, which means I like drawing underneath and then erasing afterwards, as opposed to trying to draw it and then sort of tidy up afterwards, like sort of not actually drawing in those pieces so you'd have gaps. Don't know if that makes sense, but okay. Also, you've just seen, this is a real cheat that I do. If you've got to do something that's symmetrical, guys, don't draw the whole thing, just copy and paste it and flip it. Ultimately, all artists find their cheats. Don't be afraid to use them. This was my favourite bit doing this. I absolutely adored trying to draw lightning. I've never really drawn lightning before, and this was the first time I've ever actually done it properly for a piece, and I actually loved it. So going about this, you can now see once I got the line work done, I start layering up pieces. So I will sort of paint the background. I'll do a very simple sort of motif, which is usually on the sofa. In this case, it's the lightning and the wings. With the hair, I'll then layer a watercolour texture on top, just to sort of give it a bit of texture, because I tend to keep the hair in these pieces very simple. Otherwise, I'll get caught away out doing detail, because I'm a terrible person. And again, the colouring here is very basic, so I've always been requested for these pieces to do black and white and gold. This means you really have to keep an eye on those tonal values. You need to make sure you've got light, you've got dark, you've got mid-tones. If you go too dark, you won't see any detail. If you go too light, you won't get the right sort of depth. That's what I'm usually working in the case of these. You'll see that I'll do little micro adjustments every so often, because I don't tend to block in too much with these. So it'll be a case of, you'll probably see that I will take certain layers and then I'll sort of adjust them slightly and add a little bit more. The trick is when you're doing these black, white and gold pieces, if you want to try something like yourself, don't overdo it on the gold. Use the gold to sort of bring attention to small little details to it. If you want to make things pop out, remember, use your tonal values. Don't just use the gold. The gold is there just to add that little touch. Just bring attention to sort of little details. These can be things like belts, patterns. I sometimes do it on the character's nails, usually on the beads or any sort of paint that they're doing. It's very important to sort of not go too heavy on the gold, or you're just going to swallow up the image a bit much. So as we're going along with this, you'll also begin to see that I start highlighting a few bits of white. I will do this usually when I'm usually doing like a monochrome piece, because otherwise you can find things will sort of blend into each other. It's sort of a very simple, effective way of doing the backlighted effect that you would usually get if from reflective light in any sort of environment anyway. In this case, it's just a little bit more simplified because the painting style that I'm doing on this is a bit more simplified than if I was doing a full painted piece. When I'm painting these sort of simplified art pieces, what I'm mainly using, if you use the Sai yourself, is I tend to use a lot of the Sai brush, the marker brush and the watercolour brush. I usually go in with airbrush first and then use the other two, both watercolour and marker, just to blend it out a little bit. So if you want to try doing something like this yourself, I can do something more detail at another point, but they're the three brushes I'm mainly using in this case. Another quick thing, as you can see that I'm beginning to like colour in sort of reflective surfaces. Again, this is very simply using three sort of different tones, usually a dark one, a light one and a mid-tone, and then just blending it out very carefully and upping the contrast. With the smoke, that's just usually a case of just pure white painting, and then it's just the opacity has been drawn out with just white lines sort of trimming it. A lot of the piece that you'll see here is very basic colouring, just a lot of flats, then just adding something and blending it in. And here is the final piece, all done. So this artwork, as well as the tea that it's for, is being currently sold by Beastly Beverages. He's currently taking pre-orders, so if you would like to purchase this, please head to beastlybeverages.com. And thank you very much for watching, guys. Now, before I go, this is another opportunity to say thank you for watching. Please, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to like, comment and subscribe. Please let me know what you'd like me to do next. It's always very handy. Also, my social links are down in the doobly-doo below, including my links to my Patreon. Now, my Patreons, who you're seeing currently going up on the screen, are my long-time supporters who would not be able to do this work without. If you would like to become a patron and get your name up here on this screen, as well as several other benefits, please head over to my Patreon channel and you'll be able to see all the other benefits and tiers there. So once again, thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.